What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Going Rounds podcast. Big E back at it again. Talk about a bunch of MMA. Actually, there's not a ton going on this weekend, honestly. I think it's what is it, Labor Day or some shit? I don't know, whatever weekend it is. There's not a ton going on. So, we're gonna make the best of what we got. We're gonna talk about some combat sports news, Dana White's Contender series uh on every week, kind of taking the place of the Ultimate Fighter on Tuesday nights. It overlapped for like 2 weeks, but that was about it. But this is where they find their new up and coming stars a lot of times. Sugar Sean O'Malley making his start there in season 2, I believe, and now he's the bantamweight champion of the world. Just happened a couple weeks ago. So, big things can happen from being on Dana White's Contender series. He got an extra special push being that Snoop Dogg loved him so much, but he performed as well, and that's what you got to do on that show. So we'll talk a little more about that. I was just recapping a little bit of that for myself just now, so I got some things to talk about with that one. And Dana White uh always has a lot to say. He's always in the spotlight. So there's some choice words for some choice fighters going on with Dana White, especially after these Dana White Contender Series shows. A lot of the media likes to ask him questions about things going on throughout the week, so it's like an extra few minutes that they get to drill him with. Interesting to say, you never know what you're gonna get from him. So that's that, and then we had last weekend's uh last weekend's event, UFC Singapore, with the Korean Zombie versus Max Holloway. And I'm sure if you guys all watched it, you saw that the Korean Zombie retired, and not so gracefully, unfortunately, but still a memorable moment for him. I think the way that he got to walk out of the cage and all that. So we'll hit that up here in a bit. Those are some good fights going on that card, and then we got another card coming up this weekend, another international card, UFC Paris. Uh, UFC's hitting Paris again. Also headlining again with Cyril Gane like they did last time. I don't believe there was another one in between. I'm pretty sure that was the last event that happened in Paris with Cyril Gane versus Tai Tuivasa. I might check on that in a minute. But see what else? Not a ton. Not a ton stuff going on. So this might be a bit of a shorter show, which is cool because past couple weeks I've gone a little long. Last week we went long, me and Clark, but we had fun. We had a good time. So if you haven't checked it out, go check out last weekend's recap of UFC 292. We talk about everything that happened there, the changing of hands with one of the belts, all the rest of the fights. We talked about the Prime card and all of the controversy and drama that's going on around that, because there was a press conference. Oh, my eyes are burning. There was a press conference and there was a lot of craziness happening with that one. And we got some funny clips out of that. Honestly, I haven't clipped up a bunch of it, but I did make a TikTok. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Look at that right there. TikTok right now. Go Arounds podcast. Go check it out. I realized just a minute ago that I do need to change my Twitter logo because it's not Twitter anymore. It's X. I don't know. Everybody still calls it Twitter though, right? I mean, everyone still talks about people tweeting and about tweets and all that. I don't know that the Twitter moniker is ever really going to go away. Everyone still knows it as Twitter. It's really weird going from something like a word like Twitter. What is that? Three. What do you call those when you can like clap out the? I don't know. That's elementary school shit, and I can't remember. Okay, I'm not the best. I'm not the best at remembering everything, but is it really relevant? Who gives a shit? You go from a word that you have to say like Twitter, a bunch of T's in there. It's catchy, and then you drop it to X, just X. I mean, X was cool when you're talking about DMX. You're talking about Exhibit. When you're talking about, yeah, those might be the only cool things. But X, or social media that was called Twitter for so long, and that's how everybody knows it. That's like if Facebook changes to I don't know, what would it be? Facebook changes to, I can't even think of anything because it's fucking stupid. So, whatever. It's dumb. We're not even gonna go there. Anyway, go check out all of my social media. It's always running right there. It's hard to, the camera's flipped, things are weird, whatever. You see it on the screen. Going Rounds Podcast everywhere except for X, formerly known as Twitter. It's Going Rounds Pod. That's how you can find me there. I don't tweet a ton, but you can go check out a bunch of cool stuff on all the rest of the platforms. And don't forget to like and subscribe right here on YouTube as usual. And if you're in the chat, hit me up. Let me know your opinion on any of the topics I'm talking about. Spit some questions at me. Say what's up. I don't care. Try to be nice, and I'll be nice, and we'll have a good time. All right? So, for me, this week, it's been a weird week. But it's always a weird week or a shitty week or something. I don't know. Apparently, I'm too negative sometimes. I guess I am. But, I'm also real. I like to be real. And guess what? If my week was shitty, I'm going to say it's shitty. This week has been just weird, though. I wouldn't say shitty, just weird. It went from flying by, like I feel like Wednesday just popped up out of nowhere. And then today just felt like it dragged so long, which is good because I had plenty of time to get everything ready for the podcast, and I'm happy about that. Got to visit with Trin, Tenet Trin, everywhere, all social media. Check out her YouTube and her Twitch. It's a little bit in between streaming right now, but, still check it out. Go watch all of her clips on YouTube and follow her everywhere. She'll be back at it again soon. She's been busy. Lots of work, lots of school, and that's been keeping her busy. But I got to visit with her a little bit. So I was doing that before I jumped on here. That was fun. It's always good to visit with my daughter that has moved out, fortunately for me. But it's always nice to sit down and conversate with her, and I'm happy about that. And yeah, that's about it. Nothing else really crazy going on. I think we have a 3-day weekend coming up, which is good. A little bit of a break from the grind, and maybe some time to do some changing of the background. I say that all the time, probably won't happen. Maybe some other creative stuff. Hopefully I get some motivation this weekend. That would be cool. Otherwise, it's time to go. It's time to get to it. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about, and that's MMA and combat sports. Lots of UFC coming your way. We'll get started with some combat sports news. And we'll talk about the now former bantamweight champion, Aljamain Sterling. He was on a podcast with Bradley Martin. If you haven't heard of Bradley Martin, he's kind of a gym rat, influencer type, kind of a douche if you think about the things he says. He likes to challenge people to street fights. He says he's like the best street fighter. I don't know that he really street fights anybody, though. He talks a lot of shit, but he's wrapped up with Brendan Schaub and I think it's called Zoo Culture is the famous gym. A bunch of influencers go there. They basically set up cameras all over the place, and they're always filming themselves at Zoo Culture. So either way, he has a podcast, and a lot of fighters have been going on it recently. Check it out, I guess. There's a lot of interesting things being said out there. But Eljo was on there after, of course, losing his belt, and he got a little emotional. I think Merab was on there with him too, but I only saw clips. I didn't watch the whole thing. I think Merab was on there with him as well, but Merab's English isn't the best, so it looked like he was just kind of sitting there holding the mic, not really talking a bunch. But it was during an emotional moment for Aljamain Sterling. He kind of no-sold the loss like it wasn't a big thing. Like, he knew that he fucked up a little bit and stuff like that. So yeah, it was just one of those things where it was kind of like, it's weird he's taking this a little too easy. But he did get emotional, and this is what he had to say. People only see the wins. They don't see all the other shit. It was just like, win or lose, it was one of those like, I'm going to try to do this as best as I can, and at the end of the day, I can look at myself in the mirror and be like, dude, you gave it everything you had, and that was it for me. I tell people, if you got a fucking dream, you go for it. life is short and it doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, you can at least be like, fucking tried. You fucking tried. It's weird the way this was transcribed, I guess. He goes on and says, if you never tried, it's easy to sit there from your couch and judge people and say this and that. You suck. You should be doing something else. I'm just happy I stuck with it, and who would have thought almost 10 years later, 7 years later, I'd be a fucking world champion, defending the belt 3 times, which is a good feat for him, and in that division especially. 9-fight win streak, fought all over the world, bought my mama a house. Big ups to him for that one too. That's good shit. Life's good. It could be so much worse. So, and he got choked up when he was talking about this. He got tears in his eyes, and I think it just kind of hit him right then, and he was being real and speaking from the heart, and I got to give it to him. I feel for him, and I think it was good for him to get that out. Kind of a strange moment with a strange, I guess, person to do that with, but maybe Bradley is actually better at podcasting than I thought. He kind of brought it out of him, maybe, or he just touched on something there with Eljo, and that clip was, being put out there and passed around. I don't know that it really went viral. I'm just saying it was out there. I saw it a lot. Just listening to him speak that way and be real about it kind of makes you feel for him, the way that all of the hatred he gets and all of the just nastiness towards him because of how he won the belt. It doesn't seem to matter to anybody that all of the things he accomplished on the way, all of the things he's accomplished since. Who cares how he won the belt? Because if he would have fought that second time, he won again. And it may not have been the way you like for people to win, but he won again. And he retained the belt. Then he moved on and fought some other big names and continued to win. So whether you like it or not, that's what he did. And I feel like he deserves a little more respect than he's getting. But there's just something about Aljo that people don't like. And I guess it's not going to change until maybe time, maybe an event of some sort, maybe a different fight. Something might happen down the road, and maybe the opinions and the thoughts on him might change. But I just feel for the guy, and it sucks. And part of the reason why I feel for the guy, because he gets it from all angles. It's not only the fans, it's not only the other fighters, it's Dana White. Oh jeez, you gotta be shitting me right now. There it is. That was weird. That was a little bit of a delayed reaction, I think. I know what's wrong with me. I haven't taken a sip yet. Cheers. How am I gonna make a nice fresh drink and not take a sip? The hell's wrong with me? Anyway, so yeah, he gets it from all angles, including Dana, especially Dana sometimes. Dana had this to say after the Contender Series fights on Tuesday. He said everybody in this... Oh, when he was asked about Aljamain, Sterling, and Merab Dvalishvili not wanting to fight each other, and Merab basically said, I think Aljo should get the immediate rematch, and I'll just sit back and wait. And Dana White is just not having that shit. He said everybody in this room and everybody that watches this video knows how I feel about this shit. White said at last night's Contender. Yeah. That's just part of the article. He continued saying, yeah, I hate it. And if that's why okay, so there's a lot of stopping. I guess it's like me. I stop and start in weird. He said, yeah, I hate it. And if that's, why did you even get into this sport if that's your mentality in the way that you think? I should have proofread this, because I ripped this directly from an article so that I could get the quote in there. And I guess I did it a little too fast, because I should have made some sense of it, or at least read it a couple times first. But that's okay. I don't care. We're gonna get it done anyway. He said, let me pick up where I left off. I don't want the champ. Hold on. Your mentality in the way that you think. I don't even want the title. I don't want the championship. We're friends. We're this. We're that. So this is Dana talking too. So he gets all fired up and starts rambling. He continues saying, this is not, you could be friends with everybody in this business. There's a lot of nice people in this business. A lot of good people. This is not about friendship. It's about finding out who the best in the world is. And if you don't want to find out who the best in the world is, this is not the place for you. You should be somewhere else. There's plenty of places to fight where they don't give a shit what you do. Doesn't work here. So, I mean, those are some strong words. Basically, what he's saying is, you're not here to make friends and keep friends and worry about friends. If you want to be friends, do it somewhere else. You're here to fight, find out who the best in the world is. And, you know, Merab is basically the number one contender, the number one person. And he's just not fighting Aljamain because he's the champ. They're training partners, they're friends, they're like brothers. So, and they've come up together. So it's hard, man. It is a tough thing. But I heard an interview. Who was that with? Max Holloway actually was on the Andrew Schultz podcast, and he was saying, Schultz brought up, you know, hey, what happens if you were offered a ton of fucking money to fight a friend or a training partner, a teammate? And Max said, hey, let's make that money. He said, we fight in training. Who gives a shit? We fight in training anyway. Why not get paid for it? Let's make a bunch of fucking money and let's do it. And that's a good way to think about it as well. But at the same time, if you're like Merab and Eljo, where you're fighting for the top contender spot now that Eljo dropped the belt, if that was supposed to be like a title eliminator match, you're not only fighting your friend and teammate and brother, but you're fighting somebody that you care about and taking away. One of them is going to take the other person's kind of hard work and dream away from them by beating them. Now, yeah, of course you can come back up and all that shit, but there's a little bit more involved there. But Max says he's down, but Max is a savage, and Max is a really nice guy too, so it's kind of weird just to have him have that kind of perspective on it. But to him, it's like, hey, let's make this money. Let's fight. We're gonna fight anyway. You know, we fight in practice pretty much. Let's get paid for it. So, I mean, both ways work. I don't have a strong opinion either way, but I do think it's tough that there can't be any kind of consideration for the relationship here. You know, if this was one of Dana's privileged fighters, then maybe he wouldn't be so hard on him. I don't know. Would he or would he not? Would he give a shit? Would he give him a break? I don't know. But it just seems like he goes hard on Eljo all the time, and now he's going hard on Merab. And it's really weird because they're a part of Team Serra Longo. Matt Serra, Ray Longo. Matt Serra does Dana White looking for a fight with Dana. He's really close with him. And no matter what, Dana's constantly fucking with Matt Serra's fighters. So I'm like, does he really not like Serra? I mean, you would think that they do a show together and they're supposed to be traveling around together because they're friends. But Dana's always fucking with all of Matt Serra's fighters. I don't know what it is. There's some kind of stigma there for him, and he just doesn't like it, which is odd because you would think he likes Matt Serra. Why wouldn't he like his fighters? You know, he's telling Chris Weidman to retire. I don't fully disagree with that, but, you know, he's telling Merab and Eljo just to suck it up and quit being a bunch of bitches, basically. He didn't give one of Serra Longo fighters a contract, even though they won during a Dana White's Contender series. There's all kinds of shit that's happened. So it's a little weird. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? He doesn't care about any of that shit. It's all business for him. And that's fine. You know, he's worth what, 4.26 billion, or who fucking knows how much money he's worth now. But he's worth a lot of money, and I guess it's the way to get there. Not give a shit and take care of business. I guess that's what it is. So maybe that's why he had somebody trying to break into his house in Maine, I think, or Connecticut. I don't remember which one it was. Maine, I think it was. But he has a house there, and it was caught on his like Ring doorbell or some shit. Some guy came up to the door and started trying to kick the door in, and I guess he got a call at 4:30 in the morning, and they were like, yeah, somebody just tried to break in your house. The guy noticed at the last minute that there was a camera, tried to rip it off, and instead rang the doorbell like a fucking idiot. So Dana was offering $2,500 for anybody that had information as to who the guy was. Apparently the video got spread quickly, and the police department had the guy within hours. So I don't even know that anybody got the $2,500. Kind of weird that that's all he offered. 25. I mean, that's a lot of money to some people. I mean, that's a lot of money to me. I think I like just for not doing anything, just to get $2,500 to give some information. But he's worth how much? And he doesn't want to give up like $5,000. Like, hey, $5,000, fucking anybody that gives me information for this fuck. So it's a little strange, but it is. It's just strange. I don't know. Dana's a weird guy, but sticking on the Dana. You gotta be kidding me. I went through all of this. I don't understand. Oh, this is why. I do this all the time. I need to pay more attention. Somehow, I have this thing called the Stream Deck, and I have everything laid out here for me. But because I get into talking about what I'm talking about, I always skip over a fucking button. That's why you'll see me have to go back from picture to picture. But this is what Eljo and Merab had to say on X. Or this is what they tweeted. Eljo says, everyone's making this so complicated. Either way, I am with you, brother. Merab said, I don't get what the problem is. There's no question of who should fight for the title now. It's Eljo or me. Because actually they're trying to say Chito Vera is going to get the title fight. The first, title defense for Sean O'Malley will be Chito. Because Eljo said he wanted to take a break. Now he's saying he doesn't. I don't know. It's a little back and forth. Merab doesn't want to, jump over Eljo and take the belt. He wants him to get a rematch. And Dana's basically saying, fuck all this. Chito has a win over Suga. That's the only person that Sugar Sean has ever lost to. So why not give Chito... And he also won on the same night that Sean O'Malley won. So why not give him the fight? So that's what this is about. But yeah, sticking on the Dana train here. He also said in the press conference, when asked about Brock Lesnar and Ronda Rousey coming back for UFC 300, because they make those nice round numbers. They like to make them very special and big and all that. Even though things go south sometimes, they like to make them big time events. So someone, rumors have been going around about Ronda Rousey, possibly even Brock Lesnar. Both of them are kind of wrapping up their WWE contracts right now. So he says, I think Brock's done. I don't think he ever comes back. And when it comes to Ronda, he said there's no shot. She's accomplished everything she set out to do. And he elaborated a little bit saying, Ronda has a family. Ronda's doing big things everywhere else. She wants to just spend time with her family and raise her family and spend time on her farm and all this other shit. And Brock has all the money in the fucking world. So they're both doing pretty good. I don't think either one of them needs to step back in the cage. Maybe Ronda would have more reason to come back because of the way that she went out and the way that things ended for her. I could see maybe, but at the same time, she's a very sore loser. She went and hid after she lost, which is fine if, just mental things happened and she needed to get away for that. But it was a very strange way to go out and a very bad way to take that loss. So everyone's pretty much doubting, or Dana says it's an absolute no. But then again, he doesn't always tell the truth, nor does he always know what's going to happen in the near future. So take it with a grain of salt. Let's move on to another thing that has to do with Dana White, which is only because it's called Dana White's Contender Series, happening every Tuesday, ESPN Plus. It's pretty early, usually it's 5:00 p.m. start time in Arizona for me. So, it's pretty early compared to the way the other fights go, but this was the lineup for this week. I didn't cover it last week because we had plenty to talk about, me and Clark. And I don't know that he really even follows the Contender Series, and it wasn't crazy last week anyway. So, but this week we had some time for it, so I figured let's get into it. Dana White's Contender Series. Tuesday, this is week 4 of the series or season. I guess they call this a season. I don't know. We had Ramirez versus Prates. Bulgari versus Tulio, Tuamba versus Vogel, Peterson versus Cole, and Oki versus Salvador. So I guess only 3 of the 5 fights had someone get a contract. So there was only 3 contracts awarded. Let's go with, I wanted to see Ramirez versus Prates. I'm not sure which one it is. It might be Prates. But Prates won, second round TKO. Sounded like he had in his first round. Actually, let's go with this first here. These were the winners. Balaji Oki is the first one here. Tommy Peterson and Carlos Prates were the winners of the contracts. And the Prates versus Ramirez fight, it seemed like Ramirez got a couple in, of course, as usual. It's a fight, you know, they're out there to show what they got. But Prates, it sounded like he got quite a bit of volume. It was about a 70% landing rate for his punches and strikes. So Gane seemed to be pretty impressed by that, and you know, said pretty much that he had one of the best first rounds out there. Great combinations, lots of volume, and in the end he got the win. And he got the win and the contract, so that was good. Moving on to it, this was actually the first fight of the night, and it kicked it off with a bang because Balaji Oki opened up with massive strikes and wound up with a first round. Oh no. My page just locked up on me. What the hell? Yeah, so he first round TKO by punches, and they were fast, they were crazy. This guy looks like he's got some talent. You know, that's him defending a high kick right there, and in the end he got the win by TKO. But yeah, it looks like he's got some hands on him and some strikes that are gonna be good for the UFC, and he'll definitely be somebody to look at if he can hang with the higher level guys and the guys that put out the same amount of strikes and same kind of fight style that he has. I think he could be good. He looked like an exciting fighter, one of those guys that you might want to watch out for. So moving on to Tommy Peterson. These are the big boys fighting heavyweight. He got a key lock submission in round 2. So the big boy with the submission, you know, of course his strikes got him to the ground, and he wound up getting down there to get his first submission ever in his career. Apparently he's 9-0, 7 of those finishes being by KO or TKO. So he's getting a lot of strikes in and big strikes and getting finishes with them. But this time he impressed with that key lock submission, or Americana maybe. I think is the other way to say what that's, or to the other name for that submission. I think it's similar. Either way, the big man with the win by submission, and he gets a contract as well. So this week, only 3 out of the 5 fights with the contract. I don't know what happened last week. Honestly, I didn't even pay attention. There was one other guy that fought on this card. I'm trying to remember who it was. Oh, Yusri Bulgari, I believe. Let me see if yeah, he's a former kickboxer who competed against Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya and others, and it looked like he's now a training partner of Alex Pereira with Glover Teixeira. So that's kind of crazy, and a lot of people were talking about the fact that this guy was in there and he was supposed to be somebody to look out for, and he lost, unfortunately. I think it was by unanimous decision. So he lost all 3 rounds. I mean, it is what it is. It wasn't very impressive though, and I guess Dana wasn't too impressed with the other two fighters that fought that night, so they did not get contracts. He did have good things to say about both of them, though, telling them that, you know, he thinks he'll see both of them in UFC somewhere down the road. So yeah, let's move on to last week's event. Oh jeez. I pushed the wrong button. Now I got all kinds of stuff playing here. There we go. Let's get to UFC Singapore. See, I'm thinking today, I'm like, man, I got things ready early and I had plenty of time. I'm like, oh, it's gonna run smooth today. Nope, it doesn't run smooth. That's all right. I'm by myself. I do everything on my own. It is what it is. Sometimes I fuck up. I don't care. I make it right and we keep going. UFC Singapore. This was a pretty decent card. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch a lot of the undercard. Looks like there was some exciting fights though. A lot of TKO wins. JJ Aldrich won by TKO in the second round versus Na Liang. Billy Goff beat Yusaka Kinoshita by TKO in the first round. Michael Oleksiejczuk beat Chidi Njokuani by TKO in the first round. Garrett Armfield beat Toshiami Kazama by TKO in the first round as well. A lot of first round finishes. Wow. Waldo Cortez Acosta versus Lakaz Brzezinski. Acosta won by KO in the first round. So yeah, a lot of first round KO or TKOs, so that's pretty nice. Only 2 decisions in the undercard. But first, let's talk about, speaking of mistakes, I wasn't the only one, okay? I listened to other podcasts and I thought it was kind of funny. I was laughing because I don't know if you watched last episode, me and Clark I was confused because me and Clark were talking about how I thought it was Justin Tafa, right? Justin Tafa's on the left here. Well, his brother is Junior Tafa, and he's on the right. Junior Tafa is the one that fought last week. We were talking about Justin Tafa. Now, Justin Tafa did beat Parker Porter by KO, and that's what Clark was saying. And I was like, yeah, I thought so too. But on the record, it was only showing like 4-1 and no fight against Parker Porter, and that's because it was Junior Tafa that was actually fighting. So maybe that's a bit confusing. I don't know, but so even some of the bigger podcasts, we're saying Justin Tafa over and over again. I don't feel so bad. Fuck up. It is what it is. I don't know. I like to call myself out when I screw up like that because I've had some screw ups lately too. I don't know. My brain is just not working with me. I don't care. I like to be real though. So if you noticed it, you noticed it. Good for you. Thanks for not just calling me out in a rude way. But yes, I fucked up on that one. So Clark, if you're listening or if you listen to this at any point, we were wrong. None of us had it right, but that's okay. So Justin Tafa beat Parker Porter by TKO or something in the past, sometime not too long ago. And his brother, Junior Tafa, was fighting Parker Porter on UFC Singapore. And he also got the win. Nice big uppercut here. Kind of catching the body. And then he lands this crazy knee. And winds up getting the win in the first round. By KO. With a punch. So this knee was only the beginning of all of the craziness. But Junior Tafa acting like his big bro. I think he's the little brother. I would assume with the name like Junior, right? But I won't make that mistake again. And now I know that Junior Tafa is the one that does not have all the crazy tattoos on his sides or around his belly. I'm going to remember this one because I don't want to make that mistake again. I was actually kind of embarrassed by that one. That sucks. But that's all right. So, Junior Tafa with the win over Parker Porter. And now poor Parker Porter. He's got kind of a dumb name. Parker Porter. I'd hate my name if that was my name. But he's a decent fighter, but the poor guy has now lost against both Tafa brothers. That's unfortunate for him. Who knows? Maybe Dana will make them fight each other. He's gonna be like, oh, you guys are blood brothers? Yeah? Well, if you want to do anything in this sport, so you want to be a fighter, then you got to fight each other. I don't give a fuck. Tell your mama to stop crying. You guys are gonna fight each other. He might come out screaming about it. What's up, everybody? The Taffa brothers fighting each other today. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his... I'm fucking sounding crazy myself right now. I don't know if you ever seen any of his fucking announcements for fights. This motherfucker comes out screaming, or the Fuck It Fridays. How about that? Watch the Fuck It Fridays on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Every time he starts, his fucking veins start popping out of his head because he's like screaming. Like, Dana, the camera's like 2 feet away from you. You don't have to scream like a fucking moron. And he just looks so stupid as he's screaming about it. Probably about as stupid as I felt trying to do what he does. I'm an asshole. That's all right, because so is he. So, and he's unapologetic about it. Let's move on. Erin Blanchfield versus Taila Santos. I think I kept calling her Talia Santos. I don't know why. Got that fucking letter mixing up of the name. It's Taila Santos, not Talia. I'm being dyslexic. So, Blanchfield. I knew this was... I thought this might be a tough fight for her because Santos has really good striking, and she gave Valentina Shevchenko a hell of a fight when she fought her for the belt. And she almost got her in a submission and almost beat her because a lot of people were like, holy fuck, this is like the Dominic Reyes to John Jones fight. A lot of people were wondering if that was kind of the downfall of Valentina Shevchenko because of the fight against Santos and how close it was. But in this fight, Erin Blanchfield showed why she's such a dominating force and winds up with a unanimous decision win all 3 rounds. But she looked pretty dominant all the way through and did everything she normally does, starting with strikes and then getting people to the ground and dominating down there as well, getting the positions and putting people in, just exposing them on the ground. I lost my train of thought there, of course. The drink's not helping, goddammit. It's supposed to be helping me think better. Just drink more and not worry about it. But yeah, Erin Blanchfield with that win against Taila Santos. I said her name correctly this time. Erin Blanchfield is putting herself in position to become a contender, though, because now she's fighting bigger names. She's getting those wins. She's definitely looking to try to get a title fight soon. I don't know that she should be fast-tracked real hard. There's so much other things going on in the flyweight division right now. Maybe not a ton, but enough to where I think she could maybe have another good fight against another big name and then put herself in there. She's 12-1 overall. She's undefeated in the UFC. She only has 1 loss to Tracy Cortez back in Invicta in 2019. So it's tough holding on to that undefeated record, even though it's not undefeated overall. It is undefeated in the UFC. She's a tough girl to fight, though. She gets you down to the ground and she punishes you down there and she holds you down there, and it's tough as hell to get out from under her. So we'll see what she's got coming up next for her. As for now, Taila Santos with the L, unfortunately, to Erin Blanchfield. Unanimous decision, though. It's not like she lost by submission, or that's the other thing that Blanchfield will get all the time, is a really good submission on somebody. But Santos didn't have to deal with that this time. Moving on, we got... I got to get this guy's name right. Renya Nakamura versus Fernie Garcia. As you can see, Nakamura with the crazy high kicks and the crazy hair as well. But Fernie Garcia getting kicked in the face, not good for him. And the head kicks continued. This one got defended a little bit there, but seems like Nakamura got the best of Garcia for the most part overall. Unanimous decision. Let's see. What is a little bit of ground and pound there too. Nakamura is 8-0, so undefeated. Wow, he looks way different when he has a different hairstyle and doesn't have color in it. That's a weird picture. This is his second fight and second win in the UFC. He's coming from the road to the UFC, Singapore and Abu Dhabi editions, I guess. Yeah. So 4 fights overall under the UFC banner, but only 2 that were the actual UFC events. But he's 8-0 overall and seems to be doing well. Little step up in competition coming next for him, I bet. Interesting enough, his fighting nickname is the Hybrid, which used to be Brendan Schaub's nickname. Although I think he said his was the Hybrid. Either way, kind of weird. Bernie Garcia, I hadn't really heard much about this guy, but he is 10-4 overall. But this is his 3rd straight loss in the UFC, so you can expect to see that fighter removed from the Twitter account with the red X that always shows when people get cut from the UFC, because yeah, that's a third loss in a row in a matter of a little over a year. So I'm not sure that he's a Dana White Contender Series fighter as well, but he hasn't gotten a win in the UFC yet, so I highly doubt they're gonna let him stick around. So moving on to Giga Chikadze versus Alex Caceres. I was a little bit disappointed in this one. I thought Caceres would give Giga a little bit more of a fight, but it didn't seem to go that way. Giga got the win by unanimous decision. Let's see. I don't want it to check and see. Yeah, well. Well, that puts Giga Chikadze back in the win column because he had a loss against Calvin Kattar in his last fight before this one. And Alex Caceres, unfortunately, gets another loss. Let's see. Oh, no. He was on a 2-fight win streak, so he gets his win streak snapped. What's up, man, I don't know what that name is. Guntricity? Okay. What's going on? Hope you're enjoying the show so far. We're just going over some UFC Singapore action. I got a lot to talk about when it comes to the Korean Zombie versus Max Holloway. That's what I'm looking forward to here, but I definitely got to go through some of these fights from the rest of the card because, Giga got this win over Alex Caceres, which I like Alex Caceres a lot, but, he is kind of a streaky fighter. It's like he goes on win streaks and then he goes on losing streaks. Giga's always there trying to get big wins against anybody he can fight, really, and I feel like Giga is trying to make his way up there for contention, but because he was on a pretty decent win streak before he lost to Calvin Kattar, who is no joke. That's a tough opponent there. So, but yeah, he gets back in the win column here with a win over Alex Caceres. Let's move on. This was an interesting fight. We had Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. So I don't know. I feel like Anthony Smith was he looked like he was kind of sluggish, man. Like he didn't look very crisp and like clean with all of his strikes. He looked like he was a bit, almost like he was fighting at altitude. Like he was a little bit winded, kind of slow here and there. But I heard a lot of people talking about how everything looked crisp and clean and fast. And I don't know, something looked a little bit off. But that's just kind of how I feel like Anthony Smith has been fighting lately. His fight before this one, I wasn't too impressed with him either. And that was a loss to Johnny Walker. I feel like he struggled a lot in that fight. And I don't feel like he should be struggling against Johnny Walker like that. Now, this is the second straight win for Alex Smith over Ryan Spann. The last time he got him, he submitted him in the first round by rear naked choke. So this one at least went all 3 rounds. And it was a split decision win for Anthony Smith, who I don't know that he was actually confident that he was going to win this fight at the end. But he gave it his all. He got a nice big shiner on that eye, which you'll see here. Big mouse under the eye. They looked at it quite a bit between rounds, and he said he could see. It was kind of weird because I thought maybe it's because it was Singapore, but I thought this whole rule change thing was in effect where they weren't going to shine the light in guys' eyes and stuff like that and give them time. But maybe it's because it was in Singapore that none of that really came into play. But I did see the doctor shining the light in his eye, asking him if he could see and all that shit. But he seemed to be able to see everything. So he said it was bugging him, but it wasn't anything crazy. So it was good to see him get a win again. I do like Alex Smith, but there's something about him that I feel like just is lacking when he fights. And I don't know what it is. Like, I feel like ever since he got just annihilated by Glover a while back and he got his teeth knocked out and all that shit, it just feel like he's not really the same fighter. But in this fight, he got the best of Ryan Spann, gets a split decision win, and goes home with that. So he was happy with the win, I guess, overall. And I was listening to the Believe You Me podcast with him and shit, why did I just space on the fucking name? Oh my god. How do I fucking forget his name? Wow, I can't remember his fucking name. Anyway, the British fucking fighter. Believe You Me. He says that shit all the time. Damn it, I can't remember his name. Wow, whatever. Anyway, he was on that podcast. He seemed like he wasn't extremely happy with the win, but at the same, but happy enough with it and the fact that he got that win. So, and it was kind of crazy to see the two guys who do the podcast together talking to each other in the post-fight, interview in the cage. So that was a nasty mouse under Anthony Smith's eye, though, and it looked pretty bad still a couple days later. But he got the win, and Ryan Spann's going to go back to the drawing board, unfortunately for him. This second loss in a row to Alex Smith, and it just seems like he just can't seem to get the win over. I keep saying Alex Smith, right? It's Anthony Smith. What the fuck is wrong with me? Anthony Smith. But this is Ryan Spann's second straight loss. His other one being against Nikita Krylov in March of this year. So 2 straight losses in 2023. Always got to get it together, man. But let's move on to the main event. Max Holloway versus Korean Zombie. This was a fucking great fight. I mean, I love both these guys. Korean Zombie's a fucking legend. There's no doubt about it. You're always entertained by him, no matter what, in all of his fights. Whether he's losing or winning, it's entertaining. And the same thing goes for Max Holloway. Max Holloway is such a good dude. He's so entertaining. He's such a fucking character. Just the way that he talks and carries himself and the way that he fights is insane and fun and crazy. So I love all of it. And to fight somebody like the Korean Zombie, he lives up to his name. You can't deny the legend of the Korean Zombie, Chan Sung Jung. Dude looks like he doesn't age either. I mean, how old is he now? Let's see. 36. I mean, he's not that old either. So I guess, but he still looks the same as he did when he first started fighting. Just the hair has changed pretty much. I think his haircut back in the day is the only thing that made him look a little younger. But, yeah, they had a good exchange in the first round. This went to the third round, but it was fireworks all the way through. I mean, and you can't expect anything else with a Korean Zombie or a Max Holloway fight. Of course, there's a lot more action to cover. Korean Zombie kind of started off a bit slow, but they both kind of were filling each other out a little bit here and there. Zombie's walkout to the octagon was pretty special. Like, he was fucking feeling it for sure. Of course, walking out to Cranberries' Zombie, that song, that song gets anybody hyped when played at the right time. And being that he's the Korean Zombie, it's just fucking iconic. Now, I don't know if you ever seen the Bellator walkout of Peter Queally walking out to that song as well in Ireland. that was pretty iconic as well, especially with the commentator, the words that he had to say and the bit of the like dialogue that he went into while Peter Quilley was walking out was pretty badass. All of that put together made for a special moment, and this was the same, maybe even better when it came to Korean Zombie coming out. Everybody was singing along, everybody was happy, everybody was waving flags and jumping up and down, and knew every word to every part of that song. And he was feeling it, you know. He was out there putting his hands out to his ears saying, hey, I want to hear it, get louder. He's looking around, taking it all in, man. It was a special moment for sure. And that was only the first moment of this entire night when it came to this fight. But, you know, Zombie got his punches in. I felt like he kind of wobbled Max a little bit here in one of the, I think it might have been in the second round. He was definitely landing punches on Max, but Max is such a durable guy, man. He can take so much punishment, and just the amount of punches that he can take just to get in on somebody and land bigger punches of his own is pretty impressive. And I hope that he doesn't pay for that later in his life, because his fight style is definitely a dangerous one. But he carries it well. He speaks well still. And yeah, he's just entertaining, super entertaining. But of course, after Zombie got some of his own punches in there and did well for himself here for a minute, Max came back and started putting it on him. And in the third round, definitely, in the second round, he dropped him, and Max thought it was over. Didn't want to land any unnecessary punches. As you can see, Mark Goddard there looked like he was about to stop the fight. Realized that Zombie was okay. Max was just like, I'm not touching him. I don't want to drop any unnecessary punches on him. Goddard didn't stop the fight, so Max then jumped down in and actually tried to jump into a submission. And in true Korean Zombie fashion, he survived this deep fucking choke here. I mean, Max was doing everything he possibly could. Look at him looking at the ref, like waiting for him to call it, and Zombie just stayed in there. And I think at some point, Max even told him, hey, he's out. And what do you call it? Fucking, oh shit, I pressed the wrong button again. Mark Goddard actually just like grabbed his arm and lifted it up, and Zombie like kept it up there, made sure he knew that he was still in it, and then he got himself out of that choke. It was pretty nutty, man, in true Zombie fashion. But unfortunately, he did wind up eating a big punch and getting laid out. I mean, it was a tough fucking knockout. Like, Max, the other thing was Zombie actually said Max Holloway has pillows for hands and that he doesn't get knockouts. I was like, oh no. Max was definitely confident in his striking in this fight, and he was out there to prove something, I feel like. Now a lot of people were talking shit, you know, like, oh, Zombie's washed up, that's why he retired, and blah blah blah. Max could only do this to somebody like Zombie, but dude, the Korean Zombie has that name for a fucking reason. And if he got out of that choke, he got dropped before that, and he still survived. But this one was bad. This one, Max caught him on the chin, turned him completely around, as you can see in this picture, and then Zombie slammed his head against the mat as well. So it was like a face down knockout for sure, 100%, no doubt about it. No waiting to see if this was gonna get stopped. That was it for Zombie, and that ended the fight. 23 seconds into the third round, Zombie came out ready though. He was ready to go. It's like he was like, it's all or nothing right here, right now. It was a 5-round fight. It was a main event. So for some reason, he decided to put it all out there and put it all on the line, and he definitely got the wrong side of that. But it was entertaining as all hell, and it was a fun fight to watch. It was sad to watch Zombie go out like that, but you know, of course, Max, being the true gentleman he is and the great fucking person and fighter he is, gave the Zombie all the respect and made sure everyone cheered for him. And he also kept his, even though he was fighting for Hawaii with everything going on with Hawaii, you know, he still kept his post-fight speech just short, straight to the point, and then gave the zombie all the time to speak his mind and to do his entire retirement, which he did. And boy, that shit got to me, because I was like, it was tough, man. I was like, dude, Zombie's a fucking legend. It was hard watching him talk. You know, he said something like, he basically said like, I'm here to be a champion. I'm here to win a championship and get the belt. And it doesn't seem like I'm good enough to do that anymore. So it's time for me to call it quits and retire. And that's what he did. So I respect that a lot. The fact that he went out on his shield and went out like a warrior. It was a nasty knockout, but at the same time, you're like, that's a zombie. Like, you feel bad, but you don't feel bad. You know, it's like, I don't know how else he could go out except for surviving that and then coming back and knocking Max out. Like, that would only be poetic in a certain way. But for him to go out this way, even though he got knocked out cold, it still is like, okay, it's good to see him leave in the fashion that he wants to. And for them to play his song as he's walking out too, like, oh shit, here we go. This is exactly what he said. Perhaps I'm old, maybe I'm not good enough. So my goal was always to show everything in every fight, but I didn't show up every time. So that is why I'm still here. I couldn't prove it in the last fight, and I'm especially disappointed. I think it is right to put on a performance that I believe in. So that is why I want one more fight. Oh, what the fuck? This is not even. You know what? I completely grabbed the wrong picture, and I know exactly what I did there. But that's all right, because I basically told you what he said. So let's just disregard that one. I'm fucking up left and right tonight. That's okay. That was Zombie's last loss again when he fought for the title against Volkanovski. This is what happens when I get ready too early. I should have checked over everything, but I didn't. But that's all right. This one got me. He walked out of the cage. They're playing Zombie again. Everybody's singing. Everybody's clapping and cheering, emotional. And you know, he walked out and met his wife and was just hugging her, crying. It was so emotional, man. It was tough. It was really hard to watch. I have so much respect for the dude, and just to watch him, you know, walk out and get emotional like that was hard to watch. But thank you, Korean Zombie, for all the great fights and just being a fucking legend, man. Even when I didn't even know really who he was, I heard about him over and over and over again. And yeah, I mean, I've been watching MMA for a long time, and he was always the legend, the Zombie. And he doesn't even go by his real name. Chan Sung Jung is his real name. And he says he prefers a Korean Zombie, like he'd rather be called the Korean Zombie. And you know, he didn't have like a ton of fights, 17-8 overall. So and his record wasn't that like really that bad. That was his last fight against Volkanovski for the title back in 2022. But yeah, he's fought a lot of big names. Jose Aldo, Frankie Edgar, Dennis Bermudez, Dustin Poirier, Mark Hominick, Leonard Garcia. I mean, he beat Dustin Poirier even. So, yeah, lots of big names, lots of great fights for the Zombie. And congrats to him on his retirement, and I hope that that he moves on and does whatever he wants to do. He joked about being a pop star and carrying on with a singing career. So, I mean, he's going out in good spirits, even though he got KO'd. But thanks to the Korean Zombie for all the memories and all the great fights, and I wish him well. Let's move on to this week's event, UFC Paris. We got Cyril Gane versus Sergey Spivak in the main event, with the co-main event of Fiorot versus Thug Rose Namajunas. Let's see. How do I feel about this fight? Man. I mean, I'm excited to see Rose fight, but I'm a little worried because Manon Fiorot she's a fucking animal. She's a beast. She fucking punches very hard. She's bigger than Rose, and she's kind of scary. But Rose is going up in weight, moving from strawweight to flyweight, 115 to 125, and then you got Gane versus Sergey Spivak in the heavyweight division. Gane coming off that loss to John Jones for the vacant title, and man, did John Jones make him look silly. But yeah, I think he's coming out ready to prove that that's not the type of fighter he really is. So he's coming off a loss, and Sergey Spivak is coming off a 3-fight win streak. So this should be interesting. Let's see. Well, not a whole lot to talk about in the undercard. Not a lot of big names. People that I even recognize, there's not a lot. You know, it's when they do specific locations for fights, they try to get regional fighters. I've seen Jocelyn Edwards fight before versus Nora Cornell. Fucking everybody else, man, I don't know. There's been a lot of talk about Colin Loughran, I think. He's an Irish fighter. Undefeated, 8-0. And he's coming from Cage Warriors. So he's kind of taking the same route as Conor McGregor. He's fought in... I think that's really where he's fought most of his fights at, in Cage Warriors. 8-0, undefeated. Colin Loughran, I think that's how you say his name. Against Taylor Lupulus. Fuck, man. All these international cards, it's always so tough to say the names. 18-3. And he's on a 5-fight win streak. So he's trying to beat that undefeated Irish fighter. We'll see what happens there. That's the only one I've seen a lot of buzz around in the undercard. But we'll move on to the main card. Morgan. Fuck. I'm going to have trouble saying all these names. Morgan Tarari. I don't know, man. Against Manolo Zekny. Fucking tough ass name, dude. That's what happens with these international fights. And I'm not even sure I've heard of either one of these guys, to be honest. And I hate saying that, but we've got Charrier, maybe? 18-9. He's on a 3-fight win streak, coming from Cage Warriors as well. Against Zekny. Manolo Zekny. He's from Italy. 11-3. On a 2-fight win streak. And he's fighting over in Venetor, which is actually an Italian organization. So yeah, he's got 2 KOs in his last 2 fights. So could be some fireworks here. I'm not exactly high on these guys. I don't really know who these guys are for the most part. There's a lot of fighters like that on this. So the top of the card is really going to be the focus, with one mixed in there. But let's move on to William Gomez versus Giannis Gamori. I'm going to struggle with all these names, and I apologize. William Gomez 12-2 versus Giannis Gamori 12-1. Fairly even matchup. Gomez is a Gomes. I'm not sure how to say his last name. French fighter though, and he is 2-0 in the UFC. 12-2 overall. Sorry, my computer is just being annoying today, apparently. But yeah, a lot of decision wins. couple TKOs here and there, but he hasn't lost since 2016. So he's definitely looking to keep that winning streak going against Giannis Gamuri. And a lot of these guys don't even have a lot of pictures to go off of, so that's kind of tough. I had a lot of trouble finding a lot of these guys. And some of them, you know, these are like first fights in the UFC even. So it's kind of a tough card, but also don't forget it's actually happening at it's gonna be, the main card starts at 12 noon Arizona time. So it is a bit of an earlier card. But Gamuri is 12-1, coming from the Brave CF Brave Combat Federation. That's what it is. He also hasn't lost since 2015. So both these guys are on long winning streaks, hoping to keep those alive. This is the debut fight of Giannis Gamuri. So, and it looks like he has a lot of finishes. KO, TKO, TKO, submission, decision. Yeah, a lot of finishes. So this could be a pretty exciting fight, with the guy with his debut trying to come in there and make things look pretty good for him. So, but moving on to Volkan Ozdemir versus Bogdan Guskov, which I've heard a lot of stuff about this Guskov guy. Apparently he's the underdog, but a lot of people are thinking he's going to come in and just wreck Volkan. I'm not sure about that because I know Ozdemir's a badass, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with this fight. I saw a bunch of betting, a bunch of what do you call it, social media like profiles that I follow that are for betting, and they're all betting on this Guskov guy because he's an underdog, and they say that there's a really good chance he's going to come out and beat Volkan. But I haven't heard much from him. I believe he's a Russian fighter. But Volkan Ozdemir is from Switzerland, 18-7. Coming off a loss to Nikita Krylov, but he beat Paul Craig before that. So, you know, not bad. He does have a lot of decisions on his record, so that's tough. And he does have a lot of losses. Holy shit. But 18-7 overall, not too bad. I still feel like I'm not sure how this Bogdan Guskov, I have to like really pronounce the name because it's fucking tough. I thought he was Russian, but he's Uzbekistan. 14-2. He was fighting in MMA series, which I've never really heard of before. I've heard of MPL. He's Merab Professional League. Oh, maybe that's not the same. But he is running on a 4-fight win streak right now, all by TKO or KO. So that would explain why everybody's so high on this guy. All of his fights are finishes. He doesn't, only his loss, his one and only loss. Oh no, he's got 2 losses. One by KO and one by decision. All of his wins are by TKO or KO with a couple of submissions where there's literally 2 submissions in there. So that would be why everybody's so high on this guy, thinking he's going to finish Volkan Ozdemir, which would be a hell of a debut for him if he does. Not a bad name to beat in your first fight in the UFC. So let's move on to Benoit. I don't know if it's Benoit or Benoit Saint Denis. I'm trying to say these names properly, but it's fucking tough. So we got 11-1 for Saint. I know it looks like Saint Denis, but it's I believe it's Saint Denis. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Benoit. Who knows? Again versus Thiago Moises. I'm no language expert. That's for goddamn sure. I don't know how to pronunciate most of these names, or pronounce most of, whatever. Fuck it. But Saint Denis is God of War is his nickname. All right. 11-1, coming off a 3-fight win streak. all in the UFC. He has his first fight in the UFC was a loss though against Gillespie dos Santos. That was by a decision, but all of his wins are by finish. Submission, TKO, submission. And his last fight was in July against Ismael Bonfim by submission face crank. That's a good one. But yeah, this should be a tough fight for Thiago Moises, who I have heard of and seen before, right here against Bobby Green. He's 17-6 on a 2-fight win streak. Let's see. He's got a loss to Islam Makhachev, but he's got a win over Bobby Green and Michael Johnson. Not bad. Not a lot of decisions, a lot of finishes so on his record, so that's good. That's what I like to see, because then if you got two guys who have a lot of finishes on their records, that means you're probably going to get a pretty decent fight out of it, pretty exciting fight out of it. So not too bad. And now we get into the fights that I'm waiting to talk about for sure. Manon Fiorot versus Rose Namajunas. So if you know me, you know that Rose Namajunas is one of my favorite female fighters of all time. Maybe the favorite. Like I said before, she was fighting in the strawweight division at 115 pounds and is now moving up to 125 pounds for the flyweight division, fighting Manon Fiorot, who is just, man, everybody talks about the crazy heavy strikes that she has. She's 10-1. She's 10-1 overall, and I believe she's undefeated in the UFC. Yes, because her debut fight in MMA is the only fight she's lost, against, surprisingly, Leah McCourt. But she fought, let's see, she is 5-0 in the UFC. A lot of decisions, but she punches hard. She's fast and she's big. So that's what I'm worried about, because Rose is just a smaller girl, but she did say she was having trouble with the weight cut last fight. That she had that, oh God, man, she had that horrible fight against Carla Esparza. One of the most boring fights probably I've seen in a long time. And I hate saying that because I love Rose. Carla's not a very exciting fighter anyway, but for Rose not to be the one putting up the offense and pressing the action, man, that was a tough fight to watch. And it was so bad that the judges were like, fuck, we're gonna have to give the belt to Carla, after Rose just did not put up a good enough fight and just didn't look great. So, but apparently she had a lot of problems cutting weight, and that's what made her decide to move up a new weight division. So, but you know, she's got to watch out for these big heavy punches by Manon Fiorot. Look at those fucking arms, dude. That shit is just, she's fucking yoked. I can't believe Caitlin Chukagian didn't get knocked out, but Chukagian is kind of a warrior, and I kind of see Rose in that same light. I think Rose is better than Chukagian, but that might put her in position to possibly get knocked out. But I feel like she's just as durable, if not more durable, than Chukagian for sure. So she's just got to watch out for these heavy punches. Maybe force the grappling a little bit more. Let's see. I don't think Fiorot has any submission wins, and her only loss is by decision. So it's either a TKO or a decision. That's the way her fights go. So, but she's a fucking beast, as you can see in this picture. Look at those fucking arms, man. Like, it's hard to not know that she's a tough bitch. Like, she is strong and she's tough. But Rose Namajunas is no stranger to fighting strong, tough opponents. I mean, she fought most of the girls that are considered untouchable. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, when she was the champ, seemed unbeatable, untouchable. Zhang Weili seemed like a world beater. Seemed like nobody was going to touch her. Nobody was going to beat her for a long time. And then Rose Namajunas came in and beat her fucking twice. And Weili is a heavy puncher as well and pretty goddamn strong. So Rose has got her number though. She definitely she head kick knocked her out the first time and then won by split decision the second time, but still dominated and still looked good. She's beat somebody who's considered a beast and a really heavy puncher in Jessica Andrade. Even though this is all in the lower weight class, she still did it. She beat Jessica Andrade. She beat Michelle Waterson by rear naked choke here. She's definitely got good grappling and good submission skills. She's great on the ground if she can get you there, but she's got to be careful because against Jessica Andrade, she got KO'd by that slam when she was trying to attack with the triangle. Jessica Andrade is so strong and just picked her up and fucking slammed her on her head and fucked up her neck and KO'd her that way. So she's got to watch out for stuff like that when she's going for the submission and working that grappling when it comes to fighting Fiorot, because Fiorot, as you could tell in that other picture, is a fucking beast with those big arms. She's just so goddamn strong. So I'm a little worried for her Rose in that aspect, but like I said, she's beaten all of these boogie women that are considered untouchable. And you know, she just had a shitty off night when she fought Carla Esparza last, which was May of 2022. It was a stinker of a fight. It sucked, and I can't believe that she lost by split decision and lost the belt. Carla Esparza, who by the way dropped it right away when she fought Zhang Weili the very next time that she came out and fought. So, but Rose is a badass, like I said, and she can definitely hang with a lot of the big names and a lot of the big punchers. She did work against Jessica Andrade, like I said, the second time around and got the win, even though she lost the first time. She came back and got a split decision win over her and beat her up, quite frankly. So she's used to heavy hitters. She's used to being durable, and she's used to watching out for those big heavy strikes and being strategic. So I don't know that she's gotten KO'd by that slam, but the rest of her losses are either by submission or decision. She doesn't get knocked out on her feet. She doesn't get, she's durable and she's great. She's an ex-champ. So she's trying to make her way to her goal, which she said was to become a 2-division champion. So I'm looking out for her to do that as well. I'm hoping that she can get that second belt in the strawweight division, so then she can be, a double champ. It may not be simultaneously, but at least she's been a champ in both divisions, and I feel like that would be a great thing for Rose Namajunas before she decides to end her career. She's definitely one of those fighters that isn't all about fighting. She loves it. It's her life, but at the same time, she knows that there's more beyond fighting, and she's one of those girls that could just end. She's one of those fighters that could end their career at any time. One loss that gets them in their feels and decides she could just decide to walk away. And she's gone on big layoffs before, so it wouldn't be too surprising. I'm hoping that she can string together some wins in this strawweight division, and flyweight division, and make her way up to contention and at least be able to fight for the belt at some point in time. But there's a lot of big girls in that flyweight division compared to the strawweight one. So I hope that she keeps it together and does some work, and we get a nice, good win out of this fight on Saturday. Now we get to the main event. Take the last sip. As you can tell, Rose Namajunas is one of my favorite fighters. I love that girl. She's a great fighter. She's a great person. I've followed her career since she was in the Ultimate Fighter, and her boyfriend or husband, I think it's just boyfriend, but Pat Barry, he's a badass too. So anyway, main event, Ciryl Gane versus Sergey Spivak. This one's going to be tricky, and I say that because everyone's thinking Ciryl Gane crazy athletic, moves like a fucking middleweight. Even though he's a heavyweight, he's built like he's got that physique. He's got the speed, he's got the striking. I mean, he's pretty good everywhere except for on the ground. He's not a good grappler, he's not a good wrestler. He got taken down by Francis Ngannou. I mean, he got manhandled by Jon Jones. Like, horrible. That was a horrible display against Jon Jones, which Jon Jones, you know, is a legend, and a lot of people think he's the GOAT. But you know, to go up a weight division and just play with his opponent that way and make him look so bad, that's at a whole other level. And Jon Jones did that shit 2 minutes into the first round. Just done. Took his ass down, made him look silly, put him in a choke before he could even know what to do, and then walked away with Ciryl Gane in the background looking like his mom just took his lollipop out of his mouth and he doesn't know what to do. I hate to say that, but Ciryl Gane got exposed in that fight against Jon Jones, and you can't say anything otherwise. He got exposed. He didn't look good. Same thing against Ngannou. You know, he just did not look like the fighter that he looked like before he fought Ngannou. He looked great against Derek Lewis, Alexander Volkov, Jairzinho Rosenstruck, the TKO against Junior Dos Santos, submission against Don'Tale Mayes. I mean, Tai Tuivasa, that KO. Tai Tuivasa fucking dropped him, and he got back up, came back, and just wrecked Tai. Like, just wrecked him. And I mean, even though it was a great fight, it was entertaining as fuck. But he definitely did work. And actually, I'm over here going off about it when I have some pictures from that. And this was that big punch against Tai Tuivasa. You know, he's got this, like I said, he's crazy athletic with these big flying knees. He definitely moves like a lower weight fighter for sure. And I feel like he doesn't take advantage of that enough. I feel like once he gets frustrated, he's done for. And, you know, this big crazy head kick against Tai Tuivasa. I hate seeing Tai go out like that, but that was an impressive win for Ciryl Gane. And, yeah, we'll see what he can do against Spivak, though. He's 11-2 overall. His only losses being against Jon Jones and Francis Ngannou, so two really big names, two of the biggest legends in the game. But he'll be fighting Sergey Spivak, who also beat Derek Lewis with this just disrespectful fucking takedown by choke. Spivak is 16-3, coming off this win against Derek Lewis. Like I said, arm triangle choke submission win for Spivak in the first round, which, you know, if you get Derek Lewis in this nasty position and get him on the ground and frustrate him, he's gonna tap quick and easy. Although it looks like Derek Lewis is getting in shape. There's some pictures going around recently in social media of him running with Nick Diaz, of all people, and he's looking pretty good. So that's exciting. We'll see when his next fight comes, if he comes out with a stronger six-pack than he did last time. But Spivak is on a 3-fight win streak. Greg Hardy, Augustus Sakai, and Derek Lewis. Derek Lewis being a fight that he won in February of this year. TKO submission. He lost by TKO to Tom Aspinall, but then he's got decision, TKO, decision. But most of his recent fights have been finishes, whether he's lost or won. So let's see if he can keep that up against Ciryl Gane. You know, and if he doesn't get you in a submission, he's definitely going to ground and pound you. He's got heavy hands as well. But I think Sergey Spivak is a really good wrestler and grappler and good on the ground overall. And that is where Ciryl Gane lacks in skills. So unless he's been working on that shit, because if I was him, I'd be like, I ain't never going to let anybody do what Jon Jones did to me. I would not want to be embarrassed that way again. So I hope he's gotten in there and done work and fucking learned a lot and hopefully he can defend some takedowns and defend himself on the ground against Sergey Spivak, who is just manhandled people like Derek Lewis, who isn't great at grappling and wrestling as well. So, if he can do that to Cyril Gane, that'll be impressive for him and not so good for Cyril. So hopefully Cyril Gane puts some of that athleticism to work right now with this fight and defends everything on the ground. See if he can do a little better than he did against Sean Jones. Either way, that's it for that. That's it for the show. I appreciate everybody joining in. Guntricity saying what's up in the chat. I appreciate that. Keep Out just chimed in saying that was funny. Well, that's cool. He's enjoying something I was talking about there. I wasn't paying attention to the chat. I apologize. I was deep into talking about those fights. But thanks again for the support. Thanks for checking out the show. Come back again next Thursday, 7 p.m. Arizona time. Adjust for that wherever you are. I apologize. I don't know where everybody's from. But thanks again for joining in and checking out the show. Don't forget the fights this weekend are 12 p.m. Arizona time. Check out UFC.com and look at the card. It always tells you for your region, if you have your location on, what time the main card, what time the prelims are going to start. I always try to remind everybody here. Check it out. I'm out of here. Catch me next Thursday for a recap of all these fights and then a preview of of UFC 293, Israel Adesanya versus that bitch Sean Strickland. I hate him. He's annoying. You'll find out more about that next week if you join me. I'm sorry if I offend you by saying that, but I don't like Sean Strickland and I hope he gets his ass whooped. Come back next week and we'll find out why. Thanks again for joining in. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Have a good night. Enjoy the fights. Peace.